Coming to you live from the corner of Mississippi and fake Texas comes the hashtag Brothers of Baseball.
I love baseball.
Donnie and Willie Epting.
I see you two all the time. Thick as thieves you are.
Baseball fans, we are back. We are happy to be back. We're going to step in this batters box and take our cuts. You are listening to the one, the only hashtag Brothers of Baseball here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. This segment of the hashtag Brothers of Baseball is being brought to you by Drain and Plumbing Services. When plumbing issues arise, don't just call a plumber. Call the master plumber. Call Mr. Ken Richardson at 214-317-7881. Call him today for a quick estimate. I am Donnie Epting, and my big brother in real life and in baseball life is on with me, Willie Epting Jr. Say hello to the people, sir.
My brother Donnie, how you doing, man? Hey, people there, baseball fans everywhere. What is going on?
Man, it's good to talk to you again, man. Good to talk to you. Hey, we took a week off. You know, we had some things going on. But we're back, and we're ready to talk about the grand game of baseball that we oh so love.
Let's do it.
You ready? Hey, if you're ready, I'm ready.
I am ready.
All right, good deal. Let's go now.
Play ball!
Here we are. We are after the All-Star game and post-All-Star break. As we mentioned, we missed a week. We've had some things to take place in the world of Major League Baseball. So let's catch everybody up on some of the things that we've missed. We're going to discuss three things from each of our respective leagues. Willie has the American League. Donnie has the National League. So let's talk about some things that we've missed, and let's get everybody caught up. Willie Epting Jr., we'll start with you. What have we missed, and what do you want to discuss from the American League that's taking place post-All-Star break?
I'm not going to go with the obvious here with all of the leads changing and the different teams that are atop the divisions. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the sport, and I want to start with Ichiro Suzuki. He is on the verge of another milestone. The Miami Marlins outfielder has crept to within 4 hits as of this past Friday of that immortal 3,000 hit mark. Like I said, he's only 4 away. We had a show earlier in the season where we debated the hit king Pete Rose and how they will compare to each other. He's right there. As I said again, it is my hope that Major League Baseball or the MLB Network or whoever's going to be on simulcast with that particular game where he's at $29.99, that they will go to him at each at bat so we can all see what happens or what type of hit he gets when he does reach that magical milestone. Secondly, I am going to go to my hometown, my favorite team rather. And Donnie, you can go ahead and sound the alarm as we do in our brother show, the In the Zone Sports Show. You can go ahead and sound the alarm. Homer. Sonny Gray, the A's ace. The A's were actually trying to move Gray, but he has stumbled on hard times as of late. His ERA is approaching 5.5. This is a bit of a concern for a team that is going to be really pretty much a seller at the trade deadline coming up in a couple weeks. They're definitely trying to move him. There's also reports they're trying to move Josh Donaldson is already with the Blue Jays. Reddick. They're trying to move Reddick. And Gray, he was third last year, third in the AL MVP. In the AL Cy Young race, but they can't move him because his value has dropped so far this year and going into the second half of the season. So, thirdly, I am going to talk about how a report came out this past Friday on the Rangers, and their struggles have been well documented here in the last several weeks, and I'll get more into that as the show goes on. But there is a report brewing that they are going after Chicago White Sox ace Chris Sale. And with Cole Hamels and Chris Sale, if they get Chris Sale, watch out. So I want you guys to stay tuned to our Twitter handle at Bros of BB for Developing Reports. That's BROS of BB for any breaking news regarding Chris Sale and the American League West leading Texas Rangers.
All right. 3 things from the National League that I want to concentrate on that's taken place since the All-Star break. The good and the bad for the LA Dodgers. We'll start with the bad. Clayton Kershaw is scheduled to miss more time. They were hoping he'd be able to come off the disabled list shortly after the All-Star game, but he's still having issues with that back. And that pitching staff, they're going to need some help. They also had to put Alex Wood on the disabled list, who came over from the Atlanta Braves earlier this year. We'll talk about the good with the Dodgers. Justin Turner, he is in fuego, or on fire. In the first 6 games after the All-Star break, Turner hit 4 home runs and 11 RBIs, and he single-handedly ended Steven Strasburg's chances of an undefeated season, being the key cog for the Dodgers to beat Steven Strasburg of the Nationals, and giving him his first loss of the year. Second point, the Marlins have not gone MIA by any stretch of the imagination. Willie, you see what I did there? Marlins, MIA. Anyway.
That's pretty good, man.
Thank you. That's rare for you to say. The Marlins took 2 of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals, and then took 3 of 4 from the Phillies in the city of brotherly love coming out of the All-Star break. And Willie, you mentioned them. I think you cheated off my paper. You, the American League guy. Ichiro Suzuki. He's closing in on the 3,000 hits, as you've mentioned. Out of the break, his first 7 games, a .429 average and an OPS of 1,000. And Christian Yelich has started to muscle up. He hit another home run on this past Friday. And then shortstop Adeiny Echeverria. He's also heating up for the Miami Marlins. And I mentioned the Cardinals earlier. The Cards won't fold in the NL Central. How about that one, Willie? You like that one too? Okay.
You're on fire tonight, man.
Yeah, I'm in fuego. St. Louis has started to play the type of ball that we are accustomed to seeing them play. They're starting to win some games at home, which has been crazy that they haven't been able to win at home this year. The schedule makers blessed them with a 10-game homestand coming out of the All-Star break, and they are getting a little bit closer to their rival, the inconsistent Chicago Cubs of late, in that NL Central Division. So, go ahead, Willie. You got something?
No. I was just listening to you, man. You bringing this, man. Appreciate that.
All right. So let's move on. We're coming up on one of the most important times of the season, where things change, people change, or I should say, people change teams. We're coming up on the trade deadline, and there was a Michael Jackson song, Man in the Mirror, where towards the end of the song, Michael said, "Make that change." So Willie and I are going to discuss some teams who should be making changes. Willie's got the American League teams. I've got the National League teams who should be making changes, whether they're buyers or sellers. So, Willie, let's start it off with you. In the American League, who should make that change?
I've got 2 teams, man, and I broke it down, sellers and buyers. New York Yankees, the once so-called evil empire. You know, you're not used to seeing the Yankees being sellers. They're usually ones that's going out and buying up everything. But this year has been different. Actually, the last couple of years have been different. They have 2 people or 2 pitchers that are high on everybody's list. One being the Cuban Missile, Aroldis Chapman. He can bring the pain. He throws consistently over 100 miles per hour. He is the closer for the New York Yankees. Also, Andrew Miller. He is a setup guy. These guys, man, remind me of John Wetland and the greatest closer to ever play. That would be, oh my goodness, his name just escapes me just now.
Mariano Rivera, man.
Mariano Rivera. His name escaped me there for a second. Sorry about that. But anyway, these guys put me in the mind of those guys. Miller is 5-1 with a 1.31 ERA. So those guys are a tremendous 1-2 punch. So we'll see what happens as the trade deadline approaches for the Yankees turning around and being sellers as opposed to being buyers. And also I have have the Texas Rangers being buyers. As I mentioned earlier in the segment, there's a report that came out on Friday that they're going to be trying to go after Chris Sale from the Chicago White Sox. You know, they actually have a lot of injury issues with Yu Darvish. Prince Fielder just went on the DL. Sin-Soo Choo is on the DL. Derek Holland is still on the DL. So we'll have to see there. Prince Fielder might just be out for the season. He's got another herniated disc. There also been reports that the Rangers are going to go after Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Chris Archer. That should hopefully give for them Cole Hamels some help from the mound. But if they get Chris Sale, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would be darn near unfair if they've got Sale and Hamels, or even Sale and Archer. And I think for Archer, if he is to be able to get out of Tampa, I mean, a change of venue, a different environment just might be what he needs. I mean, Archer is a great pitcher. But coming into the weekend, he was, I think as I saw his record, was like 5-13. And this is a guy who has Cy Young type stuff on a consistent basis, man. It's hard to believe that his record is that poor. The Rangers, yeah, they're missing Holland, and they're missing Colby Lewis, and they've just kind of, I'm going to use an analogy that, you know, we sometimes use when kids are out playing and they scrape their knee or something. You know, rub some dirt on it. That's what the Rangers have been doing for a lot of this point or this period in time in the season. They've been kind of just throwing the Band-Aid on a problem that's going to probably be a little bit bigger coming down the stretch here. So we'll see if they are able to make that move. Look, the Chicago White Sox have no business trading Chris Sale, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
I've read some information about Quintana being made available, but the Rangers have a great farm system, and as well as some players, some young players that they're probably willing to part with. That's on the major league roster right now. But if I'm the Chicago White Sox, I'm not entertaining Jack, and I'm not talking about Nicholson. I'm not talking about anybody else named Jack. You don't entertain a trade for Chris Sale. That's what I mean by Jack. Just don't even listen to it.
Yeah, and the report is that the Rangers may be offering Joey Gallo and Erickson Profar for Chris Sale. But the one thing that I want to touch on real quick, Don, about the Rangers, and I remember, talking about their depth in maybe I think it was a show a couple of weeks ago. Their depth is being stretched because of all of these injuries, and they have hit a wall that mid-season. So they do need something to give them a shot off, because the Astros, who I will talk about here in just a moment, are nipping at their heels.
All right, with a couple of minutes to go here, going to quickly talk about some of the teams, or a couple of the teams that I've taken note of. Teams who should sell. The Arizona Diamondbacks are in a free fall. There are rumors coming out that they're getting ready to dismiss their manager, Shelby Miller. Yeah, his record isn't the greatest right now, and yes, he was just traded over from the Atlanta Braves in the offseason. But a lot of teams could use a Shelby Miller, and I'll give a team here in just a moment with the teams that should buy or who should buy. Zach Greinke's also on that Diamondbacks team. Yes, he signed that mega deal to come to Arizona. But, I mean, they're not going anywhere this year. And if they do start to trade pieces, it kind of means that they're probably not going anywhere next year. So they may need to entertain getting rid of some of their pieces. Paul Goldschmidt, though, is not one of those pieces that they're going to trade. Just go ahead and throw it out there. The Braves, they've got Nick Markakis and they've got Julio Teheran. Teheran is an all-star who has a pretty bad record. But Teheran pitches well, keeps his teams in the game. His team just can't get him any runs. The Reds, they need to look at trading Jay Bruce. You have the Brewers looking at getting Jonathan Lucroy out their hands. So there are some teams who can kind of sell off some pieces, get younger, build up the farm system, things like that. Teams who should buy, the Cardinals, they need to get a righty bat to pinch hit. They've got a platoon at first base, I should say, with two lefties. The Giants, they're in need of some depth with injuries to Joe Panic, Matt Duffy, and Hunter Pence. And the Pittsburgh Pirates, Garrett Cole has come back from injury, but that pitcher staff could use a second-tier starter to help out the back end of their rotation. So those are some of the teams, and Shelby Miller will probably be a good fit for Pittsburgh right about now. All right, Willie, we've got 10 seconds left. Let's go ahead and end the first segment. We'll take this time out, come back here on the hashtag Brothers of Baseball here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network right after this.
Because Wendy switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on car insurance, her vacation savings jar wants to pat her on the back. But it can't. It's a vacation savings jar. It doesn't have a palm to pat with. Even if it tried, it'd just spill change everywhere and make a mess. Switch to Geico, and every time you see the extra cash, you'll know your vacation savings jar wants to pat you on the back. But remember, it can't. It's a jar. It is, however, happy that you're saving money.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
All right, baseball fans, we welcome you back to this edition of the hashtag Brothers of Baseball here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. And we want to remind you to keep listening for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Dallas Charge in action. Just listen for the Dallas Charge sounder and be caller number 5 at 817-984-9513. Your chance to win is coming up soon. All right, it's Willie and it's Donnie, and we're back with you here on the hashtag Brothers of Baseball. And this is the second segment of our show where we like to assert our power and flex our muscle. Willie, have you been lifting?
Man, I have been lifting, and I am ready to flex.
Man, as Ray Lewis once said for the Ravens, I want to be great. I want to be about greatness. So let's be about greatness, man. Power rankings. Willie's got the American League. Donnie's got the National League. We come back and talk about our teams who are just a bit outside. What's up, Harry Doyle? And then we also give our top 5 for our Major League Baseball rankings. So with that being said, Willie, passing the microphone to you. Top 5 American League, go.
Well, here we go, man. Number 5, checking in, Baltimore Orioles. They relinquished the lead in the American League East and are only 5-5 in their last 10 games going into the weekend. Number 4, the American League East defending champions, Toronto Blue Jays. They are still on fire as of late. They now sit a game and a half out of first place. And that famous phrase that we always like to say, if the playoffs were to have start today, they would be in. Number 3, the struggling Texas Rangers. They have fallen, or they have had a free-for-all, is what I'm trying to say, in the last 3 or so weeks. They have gone 4-15 in their last 19 games, including getting swept by the Angels of Anaheim out in California. Number 2, Boston Red Sox, checking in. They have taken over the lead in the American League East. They are on fire as well. Those bats are still doing it. And number 1, hashtag Believeland, Cleveland Indians, still on fire, still got a stranglehold on the American League Central.
All right, counting down one more time, please. 5-1.
5-1. That would be the Baltimore Orioles, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Texas Rangers, the Boston Red Sox, and the Cleveland Indians.
All right, and then let's talk about those teams who are just a bit outside of your top 5.
Just a bit outside.
That would be, I'm going to give you credit again, Donnie. You ought to be relishing this right about now. This is the 4th straight week. Houston Astros, Detroit Tigers. And those Astros, they are getting dangerously close to no longer being outside, but being on the inside.
Right. Yeah. They are clawing up the Texas Rangers' backs. I mean, they're right there, man. I know they've had a pretty pathetic showing against the Rangers in the past couple of seasons. But if they want that division, I don't think they can rely on trying to snatch one of those 2 wild cards. If they want in the postseason, they got to win the West.
Well, coming into this weekend's games, or this past weekend's games, rather, they are only 3.5 out.
Yeah. Wild card prior to the weekend, 2.5, but, you've got that East, that East division could very well get 3 teams in the playoffs. That's why I say I think the runner-up in the West probably going to be on the outside looking in because the East is just that close. Is just that tight between Boston, Baltimore, and Toronto. And three really good teams, man, who all deserve to be in the playoffs. This is a year where you wish there were more teams in the playoffs. Shorten the season down to like 144. And, maybe allow a seventh team in there or something. I don't know. It's just not enough, man, when you have good years like this.
And something else, too, will be very interesting that took place is that we could get another round of Toronto and Texas.
Yeah.
But
with the bat flip.
Yes.
And Rougned Odor. Yeah, because that day he stunk when he punched Bautista. He stunk. I'm sorry. This is wishful thinking from the hashtag Brothers of Baseball. All right, so let's get back to reality here real quick. And let's swing over to the National League, and we'll give my top five. And the top five is as follows. The St. Louis Cardinals coming in at number 5. I put them at number 5 for one reason. Adam Wainwright is pitching well again. He's now a few games above 500. He even threw a complete game right around the All-Star break. He's back. That's the pitcher that we know. And as I mentioned earlier, if St. Louis can start winning some games at home, look out, Chicago. Cubs, that is. Look out. That Central is not done just yet. Number 4, we go with the LA Dodgers. Second place in the West. Still within striking range of the San Francisco Giants. But in those head-to-head matchups when they take place, the Dodgers need to get some of those. Number 3, let's go with the Washington Nationals. Washington. And this is hard as far as supremacy in the National League because at times Washington has looked like the best team in the National League. At times, Washington has looked closer to 5 than they have to 1. Washington needs to get a level of consistency going, and we're going to talk about Washington later on as far as a big series that's upcoming for the Nationals. Number 2, the San Francisco Giants. I'm not feeling them after a recent 5-game losing streak that they had against the Padres and the Red Sox, and that's the main reason why they couldn't be number 1. I mean, the Padres kind of took them to the woodshed a little bit. Cueto was beaten by them. Bumgarner struggled against the Padres. Not that the Padres are a bad team, but, you're better. San Francisco is better. San Francisco, they've got some injuries they've been dealing with. Joe Panic, Matt Duffy, Hunter Pence have all been hurt. They're hoping to get those guys back pretty soon, but they're going to take their time with it. And as we mentioned, they definitely need to buy here at the trade deadline. Number 1, going to go with the Chicago Cubs. Dexter Fowler is back off the DL. Chris Bryant leads the National League in home runs prior to this past weekend's play. And Donnie's MVP pick, Anthony Rizzo, has started to come alive. As of the past weekend, he came into it second in home runs with 24, right behind his teammate Chris Bryant. And they took that series against the Mets, took 2 out of 3 in that series against the Mets. Pretty big get for them after the Mets swept the Cubs in 4 just a couple of weeks ago. So, again, 5-1. St. Louis, the Dodgers, the Nationals, San Francisco Giants, and the Chicago Cubs.
I'm surprised you didn't have the Marlins in there.
I did at first. Notice a deep sigh. I did at first. And I actually had the Marlins at like 4. But I started thinking, like I mentioned with the Cardinals, Wainwright is back. And that's exactly what they need. They need their ace to step it up. Because as he steps it up, Michael Wacha will step it up. Jaime Garcia will step it up. Willie Martinez will step it up. And that whole team will get behind the pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals. The Marlins, man, they're right there. As we segue into just a bit outside, the Marlins are right there. They really have a case to be in that top 5. they're just trudging along, man. And as I mentioned earlier, Christian Yelich, he got that big money a couple of seasons ago, and he's now starting to put it together for Don Mattingly's team. I don't know how many times we mentioned this, but without D. Gordon, it just seems like it's galvanized that team. We're not going to let this suspension stop us, and we're going to hang right around in here. And they are in hopes of getting one of those wild card spots out of the East. And they've actually gone into second place in the East over the Mets. And the Mets, who's had, they've had some time at first place in the East this year. But I'm real high on the Marlins, man. Very high on them. Who's to say that maybe next week they can be in that top 5, and not just number 5, but a good place in that top 5 to round out. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and Stanton is starting to hit the ball again too. He's coming out of that slump that he was in.
Yeah, but what I don't want to see from Stanton, recent home run derby hitters, they struggle in the second half of the year because it's like you put all the eggs in the basket for one night to win that home run derby, and then your swing just goes kerplunk in the second half of the year. So hopefully for the Marlins, they don't experience that from their big slugger Giancarlo Stanton. The other teams that I have just a bit outside, the New York Mets, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, what is it, Willie? Thoracic, for Matt Harvey. I'm not going to say thoracic part because people are going to think I'm making fun of the man's injury. I've never heard of it.
Mid back and shoulder area.
Thank you. You're the man. The Mets, and I will get into them a little bit later, but last season around this time, they picked up Cespedes, and they took it and ran with it. This year, man.
They can't go back and get Cespedes. They already got him.
Yeah. They're going to need something. They're going to need some sort of a bringing together type of transaction. And just not sure if that's out there for them. Maybe they can go and get a pitcher like a Shelby Miller. I mentioned him for the Pirates earlier, but the Mets could use a Shelby Miller. Somebody to help come in and shore up that rotation because Syndergaard isn't doing too well as far as health-wise, and neither is Steven Matz. It's kind of on DeGrom right now and 76-year-old Bartolo Colon. So, we'll see.
He's not that old.
What happened?
He is not that old.
Okay. He's 75. So we'll see what happens with the Mets and what they do around the All-Star break. And the other team that I want to mention here just a bit outside, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They had fallen on hard times earlier in the season. Mr. Marte, best player on that team right now. You got Kong, who hits the ball pretty well. You know who I like on the Pirates? Josh Harrison. Mm-hmm. That dude just goes out and has fun on the baseball field. He's like Bryce Harper's let's make baseball fun again's cousin. Harrison always comes out with a smile on his face, and he just enjoys playing the game. And they're going to need that because, again, Mr. McCutchen, he's not having the best of seasons for Pittsburgh this year. The one-time MVP for Pittsburgh. So, just a bit outside, Marlins, Mets, Pirates. Willie, let's give our top 5 for the majors as a whole. This ought to be pretty interesting. I think we're going to have quite a few differences in our top 5, just kind of based on our league power ranking. So, what you got?
Well, I was going to actually ask if you could go first this time, sir.
Well, I will do that, and I thank you. We're going to go in 5-1 order, just because I feel like it. Number 5, got the San Francisco Giants. As I mentioned, 5-game losing streak against the Padres and the Red Sox. Doesn't really rub me the right way. Number 4, got the Baltimore Orioles. As I mentioned, they've relinquished that lead in the AL East to the Red Sox. Number 3, I'm going with the Cleveland Indians. They could have just as easily been number 2. Or even number 1. But for the reasons I'm about to name, they're not number 1. I've got the Chicago Cubs at number 2. As mentioned earlier, Rizzo, Bryant becoming quite the 1-2 punch in the middle of that Cubs lineup. They're getting Fowler back. They just made a trade for the reliever from the Mariners to help out their bullpen. So Chicago's, I think they're not going to put to the finish. They're not going to struggle to the finish line. I think they'll get a good boost of energy here coming to the end of the season. And my number one team, Willie, I got the Boston Red Sox. I paid close attention to that series between the Giants and the Red Sox. And I just want to make this note real quick. Thank you, MLB, for scheduling the Giants on the East Coast in back-to-back series versus the Red Sox and the Yankees. I think that was awesome that they did that. But back to the Red Sox. The Red Sox took the Giants to the woodshed in that series that they played. Hanley Ramirez hit 3 home runs in one game. If Hanram is hitting to complement the killer bees of Betts, Bradley, Bogarts, and Big Papi, don't steal my thunder. If Hanram gives them anything, if Travis Shaw had a pretty good game on this past Wednesday against the Giants. If they can get hitting from those guys, and Boston just picked up Pomerantz in a trade, just picked up Aaron Hill in a trade, picked up Martinez from the Indians in a trade. And Palmer, what have I been saying all year, Willie, about the Red Sox after David Price? We just don't really know. Stephen Wright has been quite the pleasant surprise. Mm-hmm. So picking up Pomerantz was a big deal for the Red Sox. So my 5-1 real quick, and I'll let you get in here. Giants, Orioles, Indians, Cubs, Red Sox. Willie, it's on you.
Checking in number 5, San Francisco Giants. For all the reasons you said they struggled as of late, they still hold that lead in the National League West. I do like the Boston Red Sox coming in at number 4. David Price, Porcello, the 3 Ps, as you mentioned, pitching. If they can get those guys come around and Price can continue to bring that ERA down, that is the best offense in the major leagues. Number 3, I have the Washington Nationals. They just keep on putting their foot to the pedal in the National League East. Chicago Cubs coming in at number 2. And at number 1, I have the Cleveland Indians. I do believe that the Indians are the most complete team in the major leagues with that pitching staff and those guys that can hit. They have shown it. Terry Francona is doing a wonderful job with that team. They are coming in at number 1 for me.
Yeah, Tito has indeed done a great job with that team. The Nationals, they were right there for me. But since I had the Giants ahead of the Nats in my NL Power Rankings, I couldn't go with the Nats above the Giants in my top 5. But I am a little concerned about the Giants. Just a little bit. Only in the fact of course, the back end of the starting rotation. After Cueto, after Samardzija, after Bumgarner. Peavy and Kane. You can't really trust them right now.
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah. Kane was roughed up against the Red Sox in that series that the Giants played in the Fins. All right.
But to Kane's defense, I mean, the Red Sox rough up everybody, man. Come on.
That's true. All right, Willie, let's do this, man. Let's put an end to segment 2 here. Those power rankings, hey, we love it. Let's put an end to segment 2. We're going to roll into segment 3, look ahead to next week, and then talk about the Hall. We'll do all that and more when we come back here on the hashtag Brothers of Baseball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network right after this.
What if I told you you could reverse diabetes and stop taking your diabetes medication? If you or someone you care about has diabetes or prediabetes, there's a special free report you need to watch. You may have heard about this. It's all over the internet. 11diabetes.com. People who have followed this plan at 11diabetes.com reportedly have not only normalized their blood sugar, but have stopped taking their diabetes meds completely with their doctor's approval. 11diabetes.com is a natural, drug-free approach to reversing diabetes with remarkable results in as little as 4 weeks. 11diabetes.com will save you from being a slave to doctor-prescribed drugs. It's easy. 11diabetes.com gives you 3 specific actions to get your blood sugar under control. And the best part is, the main ingredient and solution is a common spice found in most kitchens. Watch the free video for yourself at 11diabetes.com. Watch for free at 11diabetes.com. Get back the quality of your life and free yourself from diabetes medications. Go to 11diabetes.com.
Baseball fans, we are back here with the hashtag Brothers of Baseball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. And to let you know that this segment of the hashtag Brothers of Baseball is being brought to you by PureFlix. Enjoy faith and family movies, TV shows, and educational programs anytime, anywhere for only $7.99 per month. Sign up for your 30-day free trial by going to bgcsports.net, the home of the Dallas Charge Pro Fast Pitch Softball, and click on the PureFlix banner and start your free trial today. All right, the brothers are back here for our third and final segment. Willie's on one end, Donnie's on the other end. And as we get ready to conclude the show, we're going to go ahead and look ahead to this week's key series. So, Willie, as we normally do, you're going to handle the series from the American League, unless there's something with Interleague that you kind of want to highlight on, because that does happen sometimes. And then I've got the National League, and we'll just kind of chat it up about what we're looking forward to. Willie, you're on deck. What do you have for us, sir?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the interleague play because we have that this week. National League East leading Washington Nationals travel to Cleveland to take on the Indians. This is a mini 2-game set, even a possible World Series preview. I like this matchup so far. Seeing what I see right here, the Nats will throw Gio Gonzalez. He is struggling a little bit this year. 6-8 record, giving up 4.53 earned run average. He will depose or oppose Danny Salazar.
Depose?
Yeah.
What is this, a deposition? We in court?
If the glove don't fit, never mind.
Go ahead.
The Indians will throw Danny Salazar. He is 11-3 with a 2.75 ERA. The finale should be a dandy. Once beaten and just recently beaten Steven Strasburg, his 13-1 mark against the equally impressive Carlos Carrasco. He is 7-3, sporting an ERA that is actually lower than Strasburg's. His ERA is 2.31. Strasburg's is 2.83. So that's like I said previously, that is a potential World Series preview. So let's go to a more traditional series. Let's point to Toronto, as we have the Orioles traveling to the north of the border to take on the Blue Jays. Love the probable pitching matchups there as well. The O's will be throwing Giovanni Gallardo against J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ is 12-3 with a 3.43 ERA. I want to go ahead and just point to the final game of that set with probables Chris Tillman and Aaron Sanchez. Chris Tillman 14-2. Sanchez 10-1. They have an average combined ERA of 3. Together, they're giving up only a 2.30 batting average to other batters. So, 2 series, man, that are huge in my opinion. One with being an interleague series and possible World Series preview, as I said. And then the Orioles, man, who have fallen out of first place, but the Blue Jays are showing who they are as they go to battle up in Toronto.
And at the same time, earlier in the week in the American League, the Tigers are playing at the Red Sox. And that's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for that. I'm sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for that series between the Tigers and Red Sox. So it's conceivable, man, that the lead in the American League East could change a couple of times during this week.
It could actually change hands 3 times this week.
Yeah. And you know, as I mentioned earlier, man, that division is going to come down to the bitter end. May the best team win, because it's going to be quite the battle coming down the stretch.
Bloodbath.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it, man. We're just about into August here. Seems like the season has just zoomed on by. It's crazy.
And you know what I was gonna say, right?
What's that?
All those times you were saying, yeah, it's early. Early. It ain't early no more.
You're right. We are no longer in Kansas, Dorothy, Auntie M, and Toto. Nah, we are here. And the final 2 full months of the season is on deck. Man, I cannot wait, man. I'm excited. I'm super excited. Trade deadline coming up. I'm just excited, man. Okay. All right, I'm going to calm down. Let me calm down a little bit. Yeah. Put water on it. It won't hurt. All right. In the National League, a couple of different series that I kind of want to hit on. Starting off, the Cardinals are in Queens to face the Mets in a Monday through Wednesday series. St. Louis continues their road trip. Milwaukee this past weekend. They had a 10-game homestand, as we mentioned before, coming out of the All-Star break. So this is now a big-time road trip for the St. Louis Cardinals. Milwaukee, at the Mets, at the Marlins. And we'll get into the Marlins here in just a moment. The Mets, as we mentioned earlier, this might be it. A series this big against a team playing well, just as the Cardinals are, this may be it for them. This may be their last stand. Willie, you said it so eloquently in the last segment. There are no Yoenis Cespedes out there for them to get this year. Unless they somehow swing a deal maybe for Melvin Upton Jr. of the Padres. And that's the former B.J. Upton for some of you who's like, who is Melvin? Melvin in the keynotes? Who is this kid? Anyway, the Mets, they're going to have coming to the mound in 3 games, probables. Noah Syndergaard Monday, 76-year-old Bartolo Colon.
He is not that old.
Okay, 75. Gosh. And then Logan Verrett on Wednesday. And Logan Verrett is to be mentioned here because he's the guy who is filling in for the now out for the season Matt Harvey. With what is it, Willie? Mid-back?
Middle back and shoulder. Some kind of thoracic,
thoracic syndrome. Okay.
Actually, we're going to have this the next time we air, ladies and gentlemen, so don't worry about it, okay?
I mean, we're going to have it, but I still have no idea what it is. And I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on radio or TV. So, yeah, that's just what it is. Anyway, Matt Harvey, we hope you heal up and get well and be back next season in all seriousness.
And not to make light of your injury, because it is very serious.
It is very serious. I've just never heard of it. The probables for St. Louis, Martinez on Monday, Jaime Garcia on Tuesday, and Adam Wainwright on Wednesday.
He is that guy.
He's back, man. He's back. Over the weekend, a couple of series I want to highlight. Hey, here's a good one right here, man. You've got the Beast in the East taking on the best in the West. The Nats playing a 4-game series at AT&T Park against the San Francisco Giants. You've got one team who, look, the Nats feel like they are the class of the NL, even with Chicago being around and even with San Francisco playing well. San Francisco, for the better part of June and into July, they were playing the best ball in the National League, but they've kind of tailed off a little bit. So a big series for both of these teams is one team looks to kind of get a leg up on another team who may be battling them for home field advantage in the National League playoffs. But remember, the American League has home field based on them winning the World Series. Not going to continue to hammer that point. Another series to look forward to over the weekend. You have the St. Louis Cardinals traveling to face the Miami Marlins, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. This long road trip for St. Louis continues. I mean, by the time they get back to St. Louis, it'll be time for football season.
That's cool because there's no football team there anymore.
And you took the words right out of my mouth. Because the Rams have flown west, young man. They are gone to L.A. But again, The Marlins, who are in the wild card contention. St. Louis is also in the wild card contention. I'm not going to say highly unlikely, but a minuscule chance that St. Louis catches Chicago in the Central. And Miami, not likely that they're going to catch Washington in the East Division. So an important series for wild card prospects and wild card chances coming up in Miami. Cardinals at Marlins. Willie, we have got about 4.5 minutes left, and we just want to kind of talk about the goings-on that took place in Cooperstown, New York over the weekend. Man, two players that we got to see a lot of as they played in the 90s and in the 2000s. Inducted into the Hall of Fame, Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Piazza. And I'm going to ask you this now, Willie. Just kind of think about it for a quick second. If you've got a favorite moment from either guy that you want to share, like I said, just kind of think about it for a second. We'll come back to it. I'll go ahead and kind of throw mine out there for each guy. Ken Griffey Jr., he was a guy who went for the home run record as far as consecutive games with the home run. What was it, 8 with Dale Long?
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite memory of Ken Griffey Jr., the 1995 American League Division Series. And this was the first year that we actually got to see on the field where the playoffs expanded. And the Mariners and the Yankees played in that series. The Yankees went up 2-0, winning both games at home in the Bronx. And Seattle, having the home field in that series, came back and had the last 3 games in then what was the Kingdome. And man, Ken Griffey scored the winning run in, I believe it was the bottom of the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. And just to see the jubilation on his face. That year, Seattle had to win the American League the American League playoff. American League West playoff, I should say, against the Angels in a game 163 just to get to that series against the Yankees. They played that game on a Monday, had to turn around and fly to New York to play a Tuesday night game to start that series. And just to see the jubilation on Ken Griffey's face, man, it was awesome. Hard to believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was his only playoff series win back in 1995. But that team had the likes of Alex Rodriguez, Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, Tino Martinez. Baseball was fun back then. Not saying it's not fun now. And
Randy Johnson.
Yeah, of course, Randy Johnson on the mound. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, baseball was fun back then. So that's kind of my favorite memory of Ken Griffey Jr. Willie, you have a second or two to think about it. Any favorite moments you want to share from either Ken Griffey or Mike Piazza?
Yeah, since you talked on Junior Griffey, I'm going to talk about Mike Piazza and the feud between him and Roger Clemens when he played with the Yankees. How about the time when he got hit by Roger Clemens and started down the first base line and they had a stare off and, you thought it was going to be something, but it really wasn't anything. I think Mike Piazza, he was too nice of a player to really get into that, and for that to have that effect on him must have been something really, really hard or really, really bad. He's a fun-loving guy, loved to play the game. I say he is the second best catcher of all time behind the great Johnny Bench. Played with the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Oakland A's.
Second best behind Bench. I don't think you'll get a lot of argument from people on that. Johnny Bench was, hate to say this, or not hate to say it, but kind of hate to play on the word, but Johnny Bench was the benchmark for catchers. Greatest hitting catcher of all time? What would you say about that for Piazza? Hands down, he's the greatest hitting catcher of all time?
I would say so. It's with that part of it between him and Bench and the late Gary Carter.
Yes, and that's also I was thinking of. Defensively, you either go Carlton Fisk or Pudge Rodriguez, in my opinion.
Yeah, Pudge was probably the better catcher, defensive catcher, rather.
All right, Willie. Hey, man, that's it. That's the show. Great stuff from you as always, man. You're gonna be away from us for a little while, so hey, enjoy your trip, man, and we'll miss you, and we'll be talking to you again in here in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, for Willie, for Donnie, this has been the hashtag Brothers of Baseball on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. We thank you for tuning in. We love you. God bless you, and we're out.